Greetings, dear ladies. I'm Kryon of Magnetic Service. If we could ask you anything at this moment, it would be to somehow within your own mind and consciousness to create a bubble that is separate from any of the reality that you perceive around you. And for a few moments, leaving everything on the other side of that bubble. And just listen and be. The premise of the entire meeting is that you, in a past lifetime, as a woman, were part of an adventure called Lemuria. And we've said this before, there are even doubts here. Ones who would say, well, tell me, was I there or wasn't I? Yes, you were. And I can tell you you were because you sit here now. The dear ladies, you have found your way through a maze of humanity to find the sisterhood, to react perhaps to an energy. And against all odds, to remember at some level, I was there. And then the next step becomes, so what? What do you do with that knowledge besides sit and celebrate it or remember? And we've talked about that over and over. That this is an actionable time for women. And that's what I want to talk about, women. I want to talk about your gender. You're a light worker. That means almost every single one of you have a lack of self-worth. And that simply comes with the territory. And sometimes, because of your gender, it gets worse. Because of this society that you live in. So you have two strikes against you feeling the absolute entitlement that you have as a Lemurian woman. Because in this society, right now, where you live, it's different. And so what I want you to do is make it not different in your own mind right now. Some of you have heard the channels and you hear me say this, that I keep these things from my partner. He's not listening. Because he's in a male body and this is for you. I say don't let the male voice fool you, because Kryon is not masculine or feminine. God does not have a gender, but God has compassion. And that's the attribute of your gender. You're in the right place to hear this. I say that my partner respects the gender, and I do, to the degree that he is not able to hear this channeling like he normally does. He'll have to hear it later, like everyone else. That's respect. But it's more than that. You're entitled to it. You're entitled to have the energy and the profundity of the gender that you are. Because it's very special. I want to talk about the relationship in Lemuria between the men of the village and the women. It's so different. It's so different than anything today. Part of what we teach is a rekindling, perhaps, of the respect of the gender that you are. so that they would see that which is feminine and take a breath and know that it was very special. You know, the tradition you have when a man proposes to a woman, think about it. He gets down on his knee. The only time he does that for his life. Where did that come from? Where did that come from? And you say, well, I've researched it and it was here and it was there and it's tradition of this and that. Where did that tradition come from? Why? When a man wants to propose to a woman, would he go down on his knee? Would he bend the knee, as they used to say, to your gender? I just answered it. It's a respect. It's traditional in humanity. It started in Lemuria. You go down on your knee and you say to the woman, would you join me for an adventure together? And the man is on his knee, and the woman is then expected to answer. I want you to hold that for a moment, because that is just a piece of the energy that the men had for women in Lemuria. You've heard the word, those who feel entitled. And it's perhaps come to a place where it isn't a good phrase. Well, I don't want to be around that person because they're entitled. Or they feel entitled. Let me tell you something. You are entitled. Your femininity, your gender, is the one that would teach humanity about God, who would raise the children with the compassion that you have. Both of those things the men couldn't do, and they knew it. They knew it. And so when they looked at their women in their life as their partners, there was an enamorment from them. Sure, there were differences of opinion. Sure, there might have been those times when there would even be arguments, but at the end, dear ones, I'll give you another tradition that's been lost. The man gets down on his knees and says, forgive me. Forgive me for making you cry. Forgive me for being less than I should have been. Because the men knew who you were. I want you to hold that. I don't want you to think, well, where is it gone and woe is me, I wish it were that today. I want you to remember this, because that's who you are. That's who you are today. It never changed. What changed was the society around you. I guarantee, if you're in the right relationship, the man knows who you are. Maybe the tradition of being on his knee has changed, but he knows who you are. And he'd be the first one to say, you bring to a partnership things I never could. Women, that's what you did in Lemuria. I wanted you to know that. It's not just what is today was then. It's not that way. There was a different consciousness between the genders. Women, you respected the men because they went out every day, risked their lives to bring you the food. Quite often cooked it for you. That's different. But when it came to a woman and who she was to a man, he knew the protocol. And there was a lot of knee bending that went on between a man and a woman. Respect, not tradition. I want you to own that and remember that and feel that, because that's who you are. That's why there's a sisterhood. to capture back and remember these kinds of things that were different. Kryon, will there ever be a return to that? And the answer is no. But there will be a time where there is far more respect for the gender than there is now, for the reasons I just gave. Understanding about the differences between the genders, and the compassion and the patience and the divinity and the teaching and the abilities of being a woman. My partner cannot hear me saying this. This is just for us. And it's good. It's good. I want you to remember that. This is good. Go from this place changed with self-worth. And so it is.